Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let me log in the Zoom. All right. Let's see here. Okay. Not sure if hey, Muhammad, can you text in the group and let everybody know I'm in here? It's the same number, the same 326-126-9903. All right, one person's in. All right, let's see. Let me get my. All right, two people's in. 162 Yeah. All right. Let's see here. I'm just gonna load up before I start the class. This class, I want to try something a little different with regards to this class. Here we go. I was trying to find the text. All right, so Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad
same as this one.
wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Radiyallahu ta'ala anhu wa sadad al-tabi'ina wa ulama amilina wa a'ima arba'in mujtahideen wa mukhalidihim ila yawm ad-din wa ba'd. All right, so I want to start with this text. There's 4 books that the Shehu compiled. Every place that the Shehu went, he compiled a text where he taught his group of students, because the Sheikh, he was an itinerary scholar. Put your pen aside, yeah. He was an itinerary scholar. He was a scholar that kind of like moved around. And when he taught, each book, every time you write, you'll have the subject at hand, and sometimes the subject vary or is from another book. Like the Shehu, he memorized the Mukhtasar Khalil, he learned the Mudawwana, he learned the Muwatta Malik, he memorized those books, he learned, memorized Sahih Bukhari, and and so on and so forth. But when he compiled books, he wrote the book, from him narrating the text. And this is important. So, because like a book like Umdat'l Bayaan is kind of like the skeleton or outline, for lack of better words, right? Many of us will memorize it, we'll teach it numerous times, but you won't know where you at as far as your level of learning and scholarship until you're able to articulate it. And articulating sometimes can be verbally, or it can be written, okay? It can be one or the other. It can either be verbally or it can be written. And your audience who's reading your text or listening to you speak, they can understand what level, not so much understand what level you're at, but they're learning from you, they're transmitting. Now, one of the concepts that the Shehu had was that the student, which was in transition to be, a scholar, to be considered a scholar, a learned person. And if you're learning, you're eventually going to evolve into a teacher. That in every sector or corner of the city, there should be a faqih teaching the people their far'ain at minimum, their obligations, and then also establishing the classes where they're teaching their far kifaya. Now, when you're talking about the far'ain, you're talking about those subjects that are incumbent or mandatory upon every individual to learn, right? Not knowing them is considered a sin, okay? A lot of times our situation won't change because of our lack of learning and commitment to our practice and understanding our fara'id, our obligations. Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of the things he mentioned about salat, he said that salat, he used the metaphor. He said, if there was a river or a tub in front of your door, and you went outside this door 5 times and bathed in it each time, would you be clean or dirty? Clean, right? This is what the Prophet said. Some also asked his companions. He said that a person will be clean. He said, likewise is the salat. You do your salat 5 times a day, because the salat is really your whole day is evolved around salat. Your sleep is evolved around salat, because the last salat before you go to sleep is what? And the first salat that you wake up to is what? Subh, right? So your sleep is in between then. After Fajr, most people go to work. What 2 salats come in the afternoon? Dhuhr and Asr, right? And then dinner time is usually around what time? About Maghrib time. Your entire day is evolved around salat. So there's only but so much sin that you can commit during that day, right? Without you having to turn your face to face towards the Qibla in order to pray, right? Ramadan comes every year. The amazing thing about Ramadan is that because of the way our calendar system is set, we're based on a lunar calendar, right? Is the hours of daylight in June the same as the hours of daylight in December? They're usually longer in the summer and shorter in the winter. So either way, you experience not eating for a length of time for a minimum for us, from my experience, a minimum of 11 hours and a maximum of like 17, 18 hours. So you know what it's like not to eat all day long. Zakat. Once a year, you have to save your money. Zakat helps you, save money, to distribute money. You become a money manager, right? In our period now, most people stack money in order to buy something, and then when they buy it, then they're back to being broke again, and they got to stack money again, correct? However, with zakat is based off of the minimum nisab that you have, right? So in order, when you pay zakat, the better it is for you as a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it teaches you to manage your money. So your entire life is evolved around Islam. A lot of us, when we become Muslim, like, because there's a lot of books, and so we kind of like pick books like novels. Like, man, this look interesting. Let me read this, right? If you ask most women haven't read, the only book of fiqh that they probably read is a woman's fiqh to her menstruation. Most women, they're neglected because they're put inside a category, a box. When you say something that's far or far'ain, it's incumbent upon women as well as men, right? Women are obligated to learn their Fard Ain, whether they married or not, right? This was an issue during the time of Sheikh Usman Dan Fodio, Tagada Malawi Rahmati Amin, which I see a lot of similarities in our time. The Shehu, the people criticized him because they had classes that were considered co-ed, right? Like men and women will be in the same classroom. Of course, with structure, with edeb, right? The women will be in the back. They will be fully covered. They will be covered properly. The men will be in the front, right? And he would teach them the text. The same way the Prophet ﷺ, when he used to teach classes, there were women present, right? However, you have what is called now like symbols of piety, right? So if you have a masjid with a wall up for women, then it seems like a pious masjid. On the other side of that wall, there's some of the most wretched women that you'll ever run across in the history of Islam in this time period. But as long as you got a wall up where you can't see the women, you on the sunnah. That is not anything other than just a little token sign of piety. You know, as a matter of fact, in Medina they didn't have no wall. The women were in the back. The Prophet ﷺ said the worst rank for women is what? In the back. Nope. First rank. The first row is the worst row for women, and the worst row for men is what? Oh. The last row. Yeah. Oh. Because of the proximity in women. Now, normally they used to put the non-mukallaf children in between the men and the women. They used to put them in between. All right. So the point, the case in point is that learning, huh?
Yeah, that they did.
Yeah, they put the children in between.
The narrator of the hadith about foot to foot, shoulder to shoulder.
He was one of the little kid in the back. Yeah. So the purpose, the case in point of me mentioning this is that no one is exempt from this, and this is part of our Tajdeed movement, is for people to learn their Fard Ain, right? Have to learn your Fard Ain. Umdat'l Bayaan is probably one of those textbooks you should memorize. You should memorize the Arabic as well as learn the English, right? Another book I recommend, you know, that maybe I'll teach after this, is Ibn Ashir. It's not a book from the Shehu, but it's usually one of the primer books of fiqh that you learn, which kind of like preps you to go on into studying more sciences of the Sharia. It has basics usul in there. It's set up just like Umdat'l Bayaan. It has a couple more things in that Umdat'l Bayaan doesn't necessarily have written in print, but it's implied. The unique thing about it is that it's written as a nazm, as a poem, and it's easy for you to memorize. Writing things in a didactical poem, like a teaching poem, an educational poem, was the method of our ancestors. You know, they were master of science, and then they would write a poem about it. Sheikh Abdullahi Danfodio wrote a 4,000-line poem about Imam Bukhari's Sahih. He wrote another 1,000 or 2,000-line poem about the Itiqan of Imam Suyuti, right? So, you know, he write these particular, we write them in poems. You know, one of the most famous poems you'll always find, especially in West Africa, is always a poem on Edrumiyah, on Arabic grammar. Tajweed, it has it in a poem form. Sarf, there's a poem for it. Fiqh, there's a poem for it. You know, every science that you can find, there's some sort of poem for it. Even in Sirah, there's poems for that as well. Sheikh Ahmed Ubamba, you know, I have his poem that he written, and it's a commentary, and it's a poem on the Edrumiyah. He also wrote another poem on Barhan, I think, Bahrain. Bahrain, the book on Aqidah. It's a book on Tawheed. So, poem, right? And this is also a method for our students. You know, a poem Yes, give me 1 second, inshallah. I'll translate the meaning of Umdat'l Bayaan. A poem, which is good. I encourage, you know, people to start writing poems on the fard iron in English. Right? Poem being poetic is just like rapping. If you can rap, you can write a poem, right? Well, not all the time, but you can. If you can rap, you can kind of write a poem. And I'm talking about rapping with words, not that skirt skirt beep beep. You know, not that stuff. That's about real words. You know, because a mastery of a language is always set up and based on, like, the sign of literacy is one's ability of poems, of having, being able to disseminate poems. So anyway, so I'll go into the text. Sheikh, this text. I learned this text with Sheikh Muhammad Sharif and also Sheikh Muhammad Mendez. With Sheikh Muhammad Sharif, in turn, learned it from Sheikh Muhammad Al-Amin. And Sheikh Muhammad Al-Amin learned it from Sheikh Adam Karyanga, who in turn learned it from Sheikh Musa, and who Sheikh Musa learned it directly from Sheikh Usman Dan Fodio. So that is our chain, our route, back to Sheikh Usman Dan Fodio. Next week, the next class, I will narrate you the route from Sheikh Usman Dan Fodio back to Imam Malik with regards to fiqh. So the text that we're studying, the full name of the text is Umdat'l Bayaan fi ulumatu alladhi wajibata ala ayan, right? The supporting explanation. Umdat is like a pillar, right? Bayan, an explanation fi ulum allati, in those sciences allati that are wajibati ala ayan, the obligatory upon every individual. So that is the translation of the name of Umdat'l Bayaan. Its primary source with regards to is split into three things, and it's modeled itself after the Shehu. He modeled it after the Hadith of Jibril, right? Which we had that class. What was it, last month?
Last month.
We had last month, right? The 17th. Yep. We had the class last month, narrating the Hadith of Jibril, right? Where the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was questioned by a man. He asked him about what is Iman, right? What is belief? And the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said, "Tu'minu billahi wal yawm tu'minu billahi wa malaikatihi wa kutubihi wa rasulihi wa yawm al-akhir," right? Wa tu'minu bi qadri wa khayrihi wa sharrihi, right? The Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he was asked about what is belief. He said, belief is that you believe in Allah, the angels, the books, the messengers, the last day, wa yawm al-akhir, and also the qadr is good and it's sweet, meaning those things that are in your favor and those things that are against you. Then the Prophet ﷺ was asked about akhbirni ala Islam, inform me what is Islam. And the Prophet ﷺ said that Islam is that you testify that there is no God except Allah, and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that you establish the prayer, yaqam as-salat, wa atu zakat, you pay the zakat, wa yusamu Ramadan, you fast in the month of Ramadan, and you make hajj, to the Kaaba, to Mecca, if one has the ability. And once again affirmed that the Prophet ﷺ was correct. Then he asked the Prophet ﷺ, well, what is ihsan? And the Prophet ﷺ replied that ihsan is that you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as though you see him. And if you don't see him, then know that he sees you, right? These are the words from the Prophet ﷺ. And the Shehu, he mentions in one of his other books, which are one of the higher books out of the four that series. Matter of fact, it's the fourth book. And one who memorizes that entire book, as the Shehu said, he's considered an alim. He's considered a scholar. He mentions in there, he says that the science which verifies Iman is called Usuluddin, right? Where it's centered around where one is learning the your belief, right? Those things that are mandatory upon you. We're talking about the Ainiya sciences, right? The second thing he said the science, he said, firstly, let me go back. He said that the deen is usul, is foundation, right? The foundation of Islam is usuluddin, meaning your belief system, okay? He said from the belief system, you have branches. You have furu', right? You have furu' al-zahir, you have the outward explicit branch, and then you have furu' al-batin, right? The inward branch, okay? And as far as the furu' al-zahir, the outward branch, it is called Islam. Every action that you do with regards to Islam requires you to do something outward, right? Think about it. The Shahada. What do you do? How do you become Muslim? You say the Shahada, right? What's the action? You're saying the Shahada. You're proclaiming it, right? After you take the Shahada, what's the next thing you do? Salat, right? Salat requires action, correct? The third thing after that is what? Zakat. It's an action. Fourth thing is what? Saum, fasting, right? Requires action. Fifth thing is what? Hajj requires action. So these are all outward branches, right? The ilm al-batin, the sciences that are inward, these are the sciences what is known as ilm al-sir, right? The science of secrets, what is in the heart, right? Like a person that's envious, right? A person that's envious, that sin actually takes place inward before it outwardly manifests itself. Sometimes you'll have a person that's envious of another person, but you will never know it, right? Until something happens. That's when a person starts acting out and displaying that they have a hatred for you, then that is when your envy and your hatred has overflowed. All right. It's like a river, it keep raining. It rain, guess what's going to happen eventually? The water's going to overflow onto the land. And that's the same thing when a person is arrogant, right? When they start displaying signs of their arrogance, then that means that they've hit their boiling point, okay? So these are those sciences. And then the Shehu also mentions that those things that are fara'id, it has two branches as well. You have those things that are ainiya, which are those things that are individually, that a person is obligated upon learning individually. And the second thing is the kifaya, right? Those things that are collectively learned. That if someone or a group of people learns it, it takes the burden off of the community, like janazah, right? Everybody doesn't have to know how to properly perform a janazah, but there has to be a group of people that can help the person, with the, take care of that janazah, the washing the body, etc. If not, then the community is at fault. All right. Now, one of the bigger differences is that the Ainiya sciences, the more you neglect, the more sinful you are, right, as an individual. The Kifaya sciences is the more that is neglected, the more the community is at fault, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start by narrating just the introduction today, the Muqaddimah, and I'm going to read the Arabic, and then also I'm going to translate. I'm not sure how much time we got left for those who are on Zoom. That's in the Zoom class. However, this is what we're going to do. At some point, the phone's cut off. All right. At some point, the classroom will cut out because we don't have the the unlimited. So I actually like it because it only gives you 40 minutes, so you can't be in here rambling and babbling. Sometimes when you don't have that timer, you can go a little bit too far. But if it cuts off This number at the top, 162-9903, that is the number that we'll use to start the classroom back up again. All right? So you just log right back out and put that same back number as your meeting ID number. All right? So we'll begin. We'll call the mu'alif, rahimahullah. The mu'alif, the word mu'alif is for the author. Okay? Call that means he said. So call it mu'alif translates to mean what? Nah. Good. وقال المؤلف رحمه الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم تسليما آمين. قال عبد الفقير المضطر لرحمة ربه عثمان ابن محمد ابن عثمان المعرفة ابن فودي تقدم الله برحمته آمين. الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على محمد سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أجمعين آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. He starts off by saying the Bismillah, all right, and you'll find this as a pattern of the men and women of knowledge, right? Not only is it just their pattern, the men and women of knowledge, but it's inspired by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Also, this particular pattern that the Shehu follow in other scholars is also the way you usually start your dua as well before you request anything from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here the first thing he mentions is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alright? The Shaykh he starts off with the Bismillah. وَمُبْتَدَى بِسْمِ اللَّهِ وَقَوْلِهِ صلى الله عليه وسلم, and it's based off of a statement of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. وَكُلِّ عَمْرٍ ذِي بَلَا لَا يَبْدَعِ فِي بِسْمِ اللَّهِ فَهُوَ أَبْتَرٌ. Whoever starts his affair, right, whatever you're trying to do in life, this is why it's very important to get in the habit of developing this habit. Anything that you do with khair, anything that is good, whether you walk in your house, whether you turn your car on, whether you stick your key in the keyhole, whether you're writing a letter, whether you're paying sadaqah, whether you're paying for food with halal money, you know these things, always do it with Bismillah. He said, وَكُلِّ عَمْرٍ ذِي بَلَا لَا يَبْدَعِ فِيهِ بِبِسْمِ اللَّهِ فَهُوَ أَبْتَرٌ. Whoever does not begin his affair with the Bismillah, the barakah from it will be cut off. It's abtar. Alright? So you won't have no blessings in your life. If you want the... See, man, you messing up over here, brother. If you want the... Yeah, man, you got to get out of here. No drunk driving, brother. Hold on 1 second. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now, and jack my whole my little makeshift stand out. There we go. Anyway, that the barakah, the blessings from that particular thing is cut off, right? When you eat, you're supposed to say what before you eat? Bismillah, right? Everything you do, except while you're in the restaurant. That's not one time where you will say Bismillah. You say the dua, the dua before you enter into the restaurant. When you come out, utilizing the bathroom is such a fitna that when you come out, you're thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Asking Allah to forgive you. Right? You gafranaka, you asking Allah to forgive you on your way out of the restaurant. SubhanAllah. So anyway, the second line he mentions after this, he says, wa sallallahu alayhi sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman. He says, this is from the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, man salli ala fil kitabi lam tazala malaikata tastaghfir lahu ما دام اسمه في ذلك الكتاب. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned that whoever sends a prayer upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, fil kitab, in a book, that lam tazal al malaika tastaghfiru lahu, that the angels will always make istighfar, ask Allah to forgive you, as long as that writing in His name is in fi dhalik kitab, as long as that prayer upon the Prophet ﷺ is in that book, right? So here are two things you see the behavior of Sheikh Uthman and Fodio. One, he started his text with Bismillah. The second thing is he started with sending prayer upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? All of these are inspired from the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then the next thing that the Sheikh he mentions is we'll call it Abdul Faqir. He used the word Faqir. Right? He didn't use the word Miskeen. Miskeen is a person that lives from day to day, but a Faqir is somebody that's destitute. And using this word in a metaphorical sense, spiritually, the Faqir, he's the person that he doesn't own anything, and nor is he owned by anything. Right? So this is actually a maqam, a praiseworthy maqam of reaching, where it shows that you've elevated, that you've reached that particular level, that you understand the you understand the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Meaning you know your place. You don't own anything, right? Nothing that you own, because usually when a person owns something, they take that thing personal, right? You ain't just gonna let somebody just walk in and take your keys and get in your car. You're like, yo, what you doing, right? But a person that doesn't own anything, he ain't got nothing to worry about. He ain't got to fight for nothing. He ain't upset by anything, right? Nor is he owned by anything. There's nothing that's attaching his heart is attached to. All right. So, with that being said, he understands that he is destitute and he is in absolute need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? That he's destitute and he's in absolute need of Allah. And the Shaykh, he mentions about this Faqir, he mentions the ayat in the Quran where he says, Ya ayyuhan nasu antum fuqara. Allah says this in the Quran. Ya ayyuhan nasu antum fuqara ilallah. All of you are destitute, O mankind, all of you are in need and destitute, except Allah. Wallahu huwa al-ghani al-hamid. Allah Ta'ala is rich, independently rich, and he's deserving of all the praise, right?
Oh man, y'all got experience being old. Move them feet.
Yeah, get them feet in.
Get them feet.
Get your feet out our circles, brothers. Now, so then what he does after that, he makes a dua. He says, Aqala Abdul Faqir, says the poor slave, the destitute slave of Allah, al-mutatarru li rahmati rabbihi, right? He is the slave. He's the slave and servant that is in desperate need of his Lord. Matter of fact, what I was mentioning about the Faqir, it's actually a statement by Ahmed ibn Ajibah, right? He says, Ammu Faqir. He says, and about that Faqir, huwa alladhi افتراقه فما سي الله, right? ورفض وكل يشغله عن الله الذي قال وقالوا الفقير. He said, they say الفقير لا يملك ولا يملك. He doesn't own anything, and nor is he owned, right? Or أي لا يملك شيئا. He's not owned by a thing. ولا يملكه شيء. And he's not, and nor does he own anything. So that's a statement. That's who you can attribute the statement to, is Ahmed ibn Ajibah. Now, so anyway, he says in here, he says that He states his name. His name is Uthman. The author of this book name is Uthman. He's the son of Muhammad, who's the son of Uthman. So Uthman Dan Fodio's father's name is Muhammad, and his grandfather's name is what? Uthman. Uthman ibn Muhammad ibn Uthman. All right. Now look, if y'all don't learn who the Shehu is, I just watched some brothers the other day have an entire conversation about how many wives Imam Warfdeen Muhammad had and what was their names. He ain't nowhere near the level of the Shehu. I ain't got dead serious, Sheikh. I ain't got nothing against Imam Muhammad. But if you can learn that man's wife's name and his name and his children's name, then you better know the Prophet say something like that. You better know the Sahabas, and you better know the Shehu. You better know your source of education, right? So his name is Uthman. His father's name is Muhammad. His grandfather's name is Uthman. All right. He says Al-Ma'rifu Ibn Fudiye. He's more famous as Ibn Fudiye or Dan Fudiye, right? Dan in Hausa language means Ibn, and Fudiye in the Fulata language means a faqih, a jurist. All right. Taqaddam Allah bi rahmati, ameen. May Allah Ta'ala sheath him in his mercy, ameen. He started.
Step back, man. Don't break the circle.
You got to move back to the edge.
Man.
He says, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa afdalu salatu wa tamu taslim wa ala ali wa ala Muhammadin wa ala ali, I'm sorry, wa ala Muhammadin Sayyid al-Mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Right? And he says that, wait, the Shaykh he quotes another hadith. Another from the line that he just mentioned here, the one I just read. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Right? And all praises are due to Allah Ta'ala. Wa afdalu salatu wa tamu taslim. And the best praises be upon tamu taslim, upon ala Sayyidina, upon Muhammad Sayyidina Mursaleen. Upon Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the master of the messengers. Right? Wa Sayyidina Mursaleen. He's also known as Imam al-Mursaleen as well. He's the Imam of all the messengers. And you know why he got that title, Imam al-Mursaleen? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam led the salat when he led the prophets in salat when he made the Isra and Mi'raj, when he made that ascension to the heavens. And he was known as Imam al-Mursaleen. وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. And on his family and his companions, أجمعين. Right, all of them. So is one other statement that's mentioned here by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, وَكُلُّ عَمْرُ ذِي بَالِئ لَا يَبْتَلَى بِالْحَمْدِ لِلَّهِ وَالصَّلَاةُ عَلَى فَهُوَ أَقْطَعَ. Right? He says that whoever does not begin his affairs by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and salawat on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then that action is aqta, right? Aqta, I'm sorry. Now, the same thing. Remember I mentioned before, you start off with the Bismillah, right, and praising the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Here also is another secret. There's also another way you get your dua answered. And I'll tell you the third thing that he done in this opening, this muqaddimah. He sent the peace up on his ali, right, his followers, and wasahbihi, his companions, his family, his companions, right, ajma'een. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also mentioned in the hadith, the Sahih Muslim, whoever makes dua for his brother in his absence, the angels say ameen, and the same for you too. All right. So if you look at the methodology of how the Sheikh he arranged his muqaddimah, right, he set himself up for blessings. Self-preservation is always by extending yourself to others before actually going after it for yourself. So then he says, "Amma ba'd, فهذا kitab." He said, to proceed, هذا kitab, this book is Umdat'l Bayaan fi ulumat allati wajibati ala al-ayan. All right. وأقسامها ثلاثة علم التوحيد وعلم الفقه وعلم التصوف. Right? He says, now, he says, oh, the meeting no longer has a time limit. Oh, Mujahid, you had a question? You can type your question in the box, inshallah, Mujahid, and I'll answer it, inshallah. All right. So he says, the Sheikh, he says, the book, the name of the text is called The Supporting Explanation on the Sciences Obligatory Upon Every Individual. And he said the sciences which are obligatory upon every individual to know are divided into three. They are the ilm tawheed, the science of divine unity, meaning the science of your belief, usuluddin, wa ilm fiqh, the science of fiqh or ilm sharia, the science of the sharia, or ilm tasawwuf, the science of purification. Okay, the science of purification. No. So this is all I really wanted to cover for today, because this is more so like a introductory class, and the next class will be going into the science of Tawheed. Hold on one second. What was the name of the surah about the faqir? What surah is that in, Sheikh? I can't remember right offhand. It's not Surah Anfal, is it?
I don't know.
Give me a second, Mujahid. I'll look it up, inshallah. Hold on. Hold on. I can't remember right offhand. Trying to find it before we move on. No. I'll find it, inshallah. Give me a minute.
Faqir.
Hold up. There you go. Hold on. Got it for you. Yeah, it's Surah Fatir. What number is that? What number is that Surah? Surah 35, I think it's ayat 15. No, I got it now. Surah 35, ayat 15. I'm doing it because I thought I could find it like right away. That's the only reason why I'm so like dedicated to finding it. Let me just double check, because I just pull it up. Usually, what I do is I pull it up from the Arabic. I type in the Arabic, and it usually pulls up. Y'all starting to lean. Sit up, brothers. Sit up. Y'all leaning. Yeah, now. Surah 35, ayah 15. All right?
يا أيها الناس قنطوا
15, not 18, 15.
وفقراء إلى الله والله هو الغني الحميد.
Now, one of the things I want to do with this particular class, right, that I do have in mind is I want everyone to commit to start memorizing, the text, but not only just memorizing the text, but also memorizing the ayats that are connected with everything, right? Because this will put you back on the path of how the Sahabas and the Salaf done things, all right? Like what you're learning, like next class we're gonna talk about dalil, what's considered dalil, right? And uh when you learn the ayat connected to the particular subject or the hadith that's connected to the subject, and the shehu, he's not a person that tries to overburden you, right, with a whole bunch of ayats and hadith and 1,000 hadith. Like a lot of classes that you'll sit in today, they'll be going over a particular mas'ala, and before you leave the class, they done talked about why the hadith got like 30 weak chains, and this one is the soundest of the 30 weak chains, and you know in this particular class, we're not really getting that deep into all that, right? What we're getting into is covering those particular mas'ala, those issues that is incumbent upon you to learn. But it will be good at the same time. What we'll do with this class versus what will you be teaching? No, the next class will be on Tawheed, but Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we don't use the system that's founded by Ibn Taymiyyah. Ibn Taymiyyah founded that system, Tawheed, Uluhiyyah, Rububiyyah, Asma wa Sifat. That was his system that he founded. What we're more so focused on is more of a Quranic based Usuluddin, the foundations of the deen, where we will discuss those attributes that are constantly repeated, the gist of what Tawheed about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Now, the Uluhiyyah, Rububiyyah, Asma wa Sifat, those things, those are developed, and they fall under the category of Ilm al-Kalam. They don't fall under the category of Usuluddin. Okay? Ilm al-Kalam. That's what Rububiyyah, Uluhiyyah will fall under. It'll fall under Ilm al-Kalam. It has its purpose. It served its purpose why Ibn Taymiyyah created that particular system, but that was not the system that Ahl Sunnah was using prior or even before pre Ibn Taymiyyah, those dates. So a lot of the books that are written out, that are out now, are primarily Ibn Taymiyyah influence or Muhammad Abdul Wahhab influence. So, those categories of Uluhiyyah, Rububiyyah, Asma wa Sifat, you won't find Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah really claiming that. Claiming that. If you learned it, it gives you a basis where you'll be able to understand on how to deal with the followers of Muhammad Abdul Wahhab and Ibn Taymiyyah. But like I mentioned before, it's not anything that has anything to do with Tawheed learned according to how Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'at has done so. But next class, we'll be going over the text. As a matter of fact, brother, the text, I'm actually showing the text as I'm teaching it. We're on the Zoom app and in the classroom, so I have to take the text up for people who aren't present. They can actually see the text that I'm teaching from, and we'll be going into it. It'll be quite interesting. Um, it's a it's very interesting, very interesting. It will get your brain working, right? And this is like your basis. This is like your foundation, with regards to the deen. Inshallah, it'll be a real eye opener for you. Inshallah. Is there any other comments or questions for those who are on the Zoom chat? You can text them in there, and I'll answer them, inshallah. Because if not, we'll go ahead and you want to call the adhan? Go ahead. We'll go ahead and conclude so we can make Salatul Isha, inshallah. But classes will be on Sunday. The recorded session of the class will also be on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. And you want to see the text in like classroom setting. I'll be doing some writing on the whiteboard when necessary. You'll have to join in on the Zoom classroom, the conference meeting, inshallah. So other than that, there's no comments or questions. If you have any questions afterwards, everybody knows how to get in contact with me, inshallah. So barakallahu feekum. May Allah Ta'ala reward you all for taking your time out to learn what's obligatory upon you. Inshallah, we pray that Allah Ta'ala elevate your rank and forgive your sins by means of this knowledge that you're seeking. Also, we'll have another class coming out. It's going to be a little bit more advanced, and it will go more in detail. Miratul Tulab, we'll be doing that, starting that next month in January. I forgot the exact start date that I chose, but I'll keep everybody posted, inshallah. I'll post it in our Facebook groups and things like that. Our Facebook like page, I'll start, posting information there as well. And don't forget, this Sunday, inshallah, we have our annual intensive lecture series that's coming up. It'll be this Sunday over in Camden, New Jersey, inshallah. I pray that Allah Ta'ala bless everybody out to make it and show the support, I vibe off your energy. Y'all there, y'all pump me up, and I get going, you know what I mean, inshallah. So, all right, barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
More merciful than me. I would have said we don't thrive.